And crime and violence must stop.
Good morning. Bless upon yourself. Happy Tuesday to everybody. Welcome again. Thanks for tuning back again. It is a morning inside the Nicardo Media House. I'm here, to discuss, Reggae Boys matters. I'm here to talk about, Mason Greenwood have been labeled in the French Liga. So ironically, the labeling Mason Greenwood as once was that wonder kid, the savior for Marseille. No, he is that average player. I'm going to get into that as well. And I'm going to talk about a big matter between Steve McCLAREN and Thomas Christiansen, the Panamanian national team coach, and I'm going to get into some World Cup talking as well. Teams are getting better, teams are getting stronger, and I'm just going to give you, some good insight on what is going on with the top gun teams, that expect to be in the last stage of the World Cup qualifier coming September, October, and November. So stick around. Love to see you guys get in that discussion in the comment area, and I will be there chit-chatting with you guys as usual and talk about whatever you guys saying, and wonderful insights as usual. You guys always leave some some very, very good comment down there in the comment section. Really appreciate it. But right after this, I will get back into it and get into the discussion, the Steve McCLAREN and the Panamanian national team coach Thomas Christiansen, because it is getting hot in the Gold Cup. Yes, as they were said in Central America, it is the Copa Oreo. I will be back. So Steve McCLAREN done, this reaction. I said a few pieces, on the Nicardo podcast on Sunday, where I brought it up and I said, hey, Steve McCLAREN, been labeled the Panamanian national team already as the favorite. Yeah, he said they are the favorites. And for anyone that out there that, didn't listen to the interview on the JFF Live, this is what Steve McCLAREN said about Panama, and they are the favorites in the group.
And of course the favourites for the group, Panama.
So I'm just saying that, look, calling a team, look, the Reggae Boys is a big name brand team. We have so many big players in this current squad at this moment. So many national teams in this region idolize the Reggae Boys, want to be like the Reggae Boys, wish they had the pool of players like the Reggae Boys. I could understand that. Guess what Steve McCLAREN just said is not saying anything that it's a false story. It's not a false story, it is true. But where I'm coming from, you cannot give those information out. It's just too early for me. It's just giving away too much. It seems like you might taking away a little bit of pressure, the spotlight off your players. No, this is the Reggae Boys. This is a big team in CONCACAF. We have went to back-to-back Gold Cup final in previous time with a less quality team. You understand? So with some high-profile players at this moment, with high-profile manager like Steve McCLAREN, they idolize us. And Thomas Christiansen have said his pieces. He have react to the Gold Cup Group C as well, and he talk about Guatemala, he talk about Guadeloupe, he talk about the Reggae Boys, and this is what Thomas Christiansen have to say. He talk about discuss the Reggae Boys, and also he talk about our name brand players playing in big league, and this is what the Panamanian national team coach has to say.
Yes, Jamaica. We already faced them in the Nations League a year ago, and well, they are always a dangerous team. They have very high quality players in the big leagues. That's going to be difficult.
So you can hear the difference of speeches, where, Mr. Thomas Christiansen is coming from and where Steve McCLAREN is coming from. One coach have said, look, the Reggae Boys, they are always been a dangerous team. We play them, I hear I got in the Nations League. Yes, obviously we beat them 1-0 in that third and fourth game, but he never went on to say the Reggae Boys are favorite. The Reggae Boys have better players. The Reggae Boys, is a better country. He never said anything like that. You understand? He just said label the Reggae Boys as they are a very dangerous team. So where I'm coming from, it's just the fundamental stuff of giving interview, of giving different detail and stuff. And look, and I go back again to say Steve McCLAREN have said that they are the favorites. Yes, by the bookies, by many people, journalists who is covering CONCACAF will be knowing that, look, it's not really daylight between the Reggae Boys and the Panamanian team, but if you look at the performances, if you look at the team structure, if you look at the direction of where one national team is heading and where the next one is, their development or their program have been stalled for the last couple of years, Panama will be the favorites to get out of this group on top, to finish on top, maybe to get at least 7 points in this group. They will be the favorite to beat Guadeloupe. They will be the favorite to beat Guatemala, and they are the favorite to at least get a point. With the Reggae Boys are probably beat the Reggae Boys and finish maximum 9 points. So that's where I'm coming from. You have never labeled us as we are the better team. We are the favorites. We have the better players. We have better players pound for pound with quality. The Panamanian team, it's an average team with average players. But if you look at how they play, look at how they structure, it's a very, very damn good team. So with Steve McCLAREN saying that, I'm having a big issue, and Thomas Christians go on further and said, hey, our players, we have big players. We have big players in very, very big league, high profile league. Not him is the only Central American coach goes on to say stuff like that in the interview. Ronaldo Rueda, the Honduran national team coach, even go on to say that we have players in the championship, we have players in the Premier League. You understand? That is already enough for this region. So every coach that will come up against the Reggae Boys will definitely say we have big name brand players that playing in the championship, players that playing in the Premier League. We have plus players that playing somewhere outside of England, have experience in the Premier League as well. And if you look at Panama team, they just had a player that just represent a club in the Champions League, the first Panamanian to play in the Champions League group stage. They just had a player, I think he's playing for I don't remember if it's this Cordoba. He just got a contract for Norwich in the championship. That is the first Panamanian to, I think, on my top of mind, what I've read and what I've heard, he is the first Panamanian, to play in the English championship, and Blackman is the first Panamanian to play, in the group stage of the Champions League. So I'm just saying, look at the quality to their quality. It's almost close to daylight. You understand, between the two teams. So it's just, I think, just Steve McCLAREN have to present himself a little bit better, and I would love to know what you guys think about it. A few people, fans also react to this, what I'm saying, on the live Sunday gone a couple days ago on the Nick and that podcast, and I would love to hear what you guys think about Thomas Christians, his pieces that he said on the Reggae Boys about, it's a dangerous team, and they have players that's playing in big league, big name brand players, compared to Steve McCLAREN calling them the favorites already. It's too early to play the mind game. We have so many time, left before a ball kick up. The Gold Cup kick off in June the 14th. So I just can't understand it, But I want to get into, the World Cup. Thomas Christians actually said this piece as well about his team. But hold on. But before I go into that as well, he went on to say he want to win. Yeah, he want to win the Gold Cup. That's the expectation he's putting on his team. For once was the finalist in the last Gold Cup, got beaten in the final by Mexico. He got beaten in the final again by Mexico in the Nations League. So he went to back-to-back final in the last couple of years. In the interview as well, he talked about how his team is making the transition from not getting out of the Gold Cup in 2021 and being finalists 2 years later, and then being finalists a couple years later again in the Nations League. So he talk about the transition and the progress of his team, but for him to come out and say, hey, this is what is kicking up a storm at this moment around medias in Central America, of him doing that interview and saying that he will go on to want, now he will win the Copa America, which is a Copa Oreo in Spanish, so he want to win it, and he's a finalist, and he's going to put everything in place. He also said in pieces that look at detail and stuff that he might play a B team, but which I think it's a false narrative around the quality of players at Panama have at the disposal. They don't have much quality to play a B team, but he said again, just giving details, he's monitoring his players, the overload of players being playing at the club level and all of that and etc. But he go on to say,
If you can, then win. That's the goal. I think that when we reached the final last year, we always want to go further, and I think our goal has to be to win it.
The big thing, he want to win the Gold Cup. That's the main thing in that interview that really struck me, that his expectation is very ambitious. You understand? He want to go back to the final and get a piece of either Mexico again or the US, but let's see what's going to happen. But that's the difference between Steve McCLAREN and also Thomas Christiansen. I understand one program is way ahead than the other program, and I understand one team is playing better. One team have a very good structure, meanwhile the other team is not having such a prolific structure that that's working for them to get themselves on the big stage, just like Panama can compete on the big stage in this region, getting the better of a very good US men's national team, and getting crucial points against the Canadian teams. Whenever you come up against them, you always put on a show. But the World Cup talk, Thomas Christiansen went on and said these pieces as well about the World Cup, and this is what he has to say.
As I have said on many occasions, that the qualifiers are scared to me. They are very important, and that's what we base our efforts on. Of course, without missing the Gold Cup. We want to do well. We want to do our best and compete as we always have. But right now, we have two important games, which are Mexico and Nicaragua, to close out this qualifying phase and then focus on the Gold Cup.
So he said that, the World Cup qualifier that's coming up, it scared him. Yeah, it scared him. We talk about this World Cup qualifier, that look, this World Cup qualifier, it's not going to be a joke. He said, look, the World Cup qualifier is obviously, it's the main objective of this year. It's that they want to go to, the World Cup in their region, which is the CONCACAF. Next year will be that big thing. And how much time, as Reggae Boy fans we have here, emphasizing on, not labeling the World Cup, the newly format of not having the top three in the World Cup qualifier. It's going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. He have said it scared him. Honduras manager came out and said it's the main objective, but they want to do well in the Gold Cup as well, but they will do anything to get in that World Cup qualifier and get out of that World Cup qualifier as one of the team that will get automatically qualifying spot to the group stage of the FIFA World Cup. And for him to come out and say that, Honduras manager come out and say that, and let me just say this, Guatemala, Honduras, those two managers, Fernando Tena, which is the manager for Guatemala, Ronaldo Rueda, the Colombian, who is the manager for Honduras, they actually scouting for heritage player abroad. At this moment, Honduras are on the verge of getting a player that a German based player who have Honduran heritage. His mama and his daddy is a Honduran. I think he played for I remember if it was BVB Dortmund, I think it was Frankfurt or Stuttgart, one of those academies team. He's a very youngster. I think his name goes by Paredes. And then he went on to say again in his interview that he's looking at players that playing for Girona, players that playing in the Spanish La Liga, and players that based in Spain as well. So they're going out of their way to add to their pool, strengthen the pool. Look, everybody will be looking to to see what type of heritage players out there that they can add to their pool and get it stronger, because as I said, all of those managers, Fernando Tena, Costa Rica coach, Miguel Herrera, Ronaldo Ruida, the Honduras coach, all those coach, the Panamanian coach, they're looking for heritage players. Just like Dominican Republic, they scouting Spain very hard in the 3rd, 4th, 5th division just to find, heritage players that, can represent, the Dominican Republic team. And just to look at the teams that potentially we will face in the World Cup qualifier coming up in September, October and November. Panama, Thomas Christiansen been there, the lows of Panama, now they're on the high. So he's been there for the last 4 or 5 years now. So that's a system that's set. The base is already set. That's a team it's a high machine team running at the moment. Honduras, Ronaldo Ruida, he have been there more than 1, 2, 3 stint, as a head coach for the Honduran national team. And if you combine those years together, it's 7+ years since he's been a charge with this Honduran team. So the experience to get and know about to get in this region, it's going to be tough. Fernando Tena, the Guatemalan coach, he's been there for the last 4 years. You understand? Costa Rica, Miguel Herrera, a very high profile, Mexican coach, is at the helm for the Los Ticos, Costa Rica at this moment. So every team that we are going up against, they have some strength and they are looking to add to their pool with heritage players, especially Honduras, especially Guatemala. And listen again, I have to, put Steve McCLAREN in the bracket with those coaches, because those are the teams that we are going to come up against. When I listen to those coaches interview, the detailing stuff and how they explain themselves and how they give a lot of details on players, they give details on heritage players, they give details on the system, they give details on the federation, they give details on the team itself, you understand, what they're doing, what is the preparation. We don't really get a lot of those detailing stuff of how those managers explain what is going on within the area or the geographical of the federation and the team itself, and what is really going on and what is the main objects for that national team. So I'm just saying, man, some of those teams, they are ahead of the Reggae Boys, but one thing is saving us. It's the heritage players that we are spoiled, going into England and can just go into a team like Brentford, Chelsea Academy. There's so many players, over 200+ players. We can pick from the Premier League to League 2 football. Is it a first team, senior players or academy players? We are spoiled to pick players from there. So it's just the reality that coming up this World Cup qualifier, it will be a tough battle, and who can survive it, they will go on to get that automatically spot, and who have the best preparation and who go on to make the less mistakes in game, and who go on to pick their moment, grab the opportunity, they will go on to to get the automatical qualifying spot for the next FIFA World Cup. And it's just sad to say that, look, we are up for a battle. It's not going to be easy. So that's all I have to say, surrounding the World Cup battle. But that's it for international football. I'm going to spend the last couple of minutes talking about Mason Greenwood, and it's been a poor run of form. I think the last 7 games, 2 wins for Marseille, and for Greenwood to be labeled as an average player, it's kind of ripped into my soul a little bit, because they once labeled him as the savior. Now he is that little boy who is just an average player. He once was the wonder kid for them. He's that big world class player for them that's going to bring Marseille to the next level. His contract runs until 2029. He's getting just around $500,000 a month for his salary at Marseille. So he's on big contract. I think he's probably the highest earner at the club, him and Pierre-Emile Højbjerg and Roberto De Zerbi. So again, scrutiny will come their way. They are the most high profile player at that football club, but to be labeled Mason Greenwood as an average player, someone that scored 35 or contribute 35% of the goals that Marseille have scored this season in the French Liga, I think it's very wrong to say that he is a average player. But if you go back to the game that they played on the weekend away to Monaco, they dominate that first half. They dominate the first half, and Roberto De Zerbi had nothing to do with the missed opportunities that they got in that game, that they should have gone to lead in that first half alone by at least 2+ goals. But again, as I said, last 7 games, 2 wins. Yes, Mason Greenwood have been up and down, but you just have to understand, this is football. This Marseille team is not the best team. It is not the best team. This is Roberto De Zerbi first, here at the job. This is his first time coaching in French football. It's a tough league. It's a physical league. It's a lot of young players that, fighting for their future, fighting for that next step in their career. So you have a lot of upcoming managers in that, in that league as well. You have a lot of upcoming players with high, potential, just like Mason Greenwood, fighting to get that big contract at that next step, that elite level, so it's always going to be tough. But this Marseille team, of what, Roberto De Zerbi have been doing, it's a remarkable job. He's squeezing every ounce of potential out of those players, just to perform week in, week out, in the French Liga for the games. But look, they have labeled him as, he's an average player. I just don't like it. But coming up for Mason Greenwood, they have back-to-back home game, so they sit third. They're 1 point behind Marseille. The pack behind them, 4th, 5th, and 6th. They are coming up. I think Nice, Lille is right behind them. So the quest to qualify for Champions League, it's getting harder and harder. But it's just, I think, 4 or 5 games left back. I think it's 5 games left back in the French Liga. But their next 2 games come up, they will play at home, back-to-back home game. They will play Montpellier, a team that Mason Greenwood, scored 1 goal, and they beat them already 5-0, in the previous game that they played, and they will go on to play Brest in the other game. They beat Brest 5-1 away in Brest Stadium. So those 2 teams will come, to the Stadio Veldaram, the home of Marseille, and Mason Greenwood have scored 3 goals on those 2 teams in previous fixtures. Marseille beat those 2 teams 10-1 in previous fixtures. So hopefully it's 6 points, but I can say between Brest and Montpellier, 2 struggling teams, Greenwood will go on to score 2+ goals in the next upcoming game, and then you will hear he is the savior again. He is that kid that will save Marseille. But for now, talking about Greenwood potentially will leave this summer. Greenwood ain't going nowhere this summer. His contract runs until 2029. It will take a huge figure to get him out of this club, but for him, he's settled. This is a move that he wanted, after got that loan move to Getafe, do what he have to do, got his permanent deal to Marseille. South of France is his home for the next couple of seasons. But for those journalists to be upset, I think, look, the reason why those journalists upset, they upset with Roberto De Zerbi of not I think they fall off of not challenging, Paris Saint-Germain for the French Liga. That's why they're upset. But they are ridiculous. It's just common sense tell you that, look, this Marseille team cannot compete at the level of where Paris Saint-Germain is playing. They clinched the league title with just 6 games remaining. That's their 11th in the last 13 seasons of the Qatari era at that club. That's their 13 league titles overall. The Qatari ownership have won 11th of the last 13 league titles. So I mean, they're catching up Marseille. Marseille is that gigantic figure. That's that big team. They have a rich history in French football, so just to see Paris Saint-Germain is doing that well, the journalists that's covering, Marseille, the journalists that cover, all the teams at South in France, they are just upset that, Marseille not managed to go on to challenge Paris Saint-Germain until the end. But if they're expecting Roberto De Zerbi to challenge and Mason Greenwood to challenge, he scored 17 goals of the champions so far overall and 3 assists, contributed 20 goals to what Marseille have done so far in the league. So what he have done, Greenwood have done everything that he can done. That's his first season. He will go on to be a better player. But again, young player, but Greenwood have to understand the circumstances that surround him and his career. Scrutiny, it'll always come at him. Once he make a slip up, you will hear back all that backlash. You will hear back all that accusation that happened in his life, in his earlier, stage at Manchester United. But look, he's a strong boy. He proved that, he can overcome any hurdles and he can face whatever backlash come with it. But that's it I have to say. Bless up on yourself. Thanks for watching. Remember, don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe to the channel. This is Nicardo Media House with the Morning Insider. I'm out. See you guys tomorrow. I'm going to preview the Gold Cup, the entire group, tell you what is my opinion, give you my prediction and who to get out of the group, and the matchups, what I might see, what you guys might see, for the quarterfinals of the Copa Oro, the Gold Cup. Yeah, that's it. Watch it tomorrow. Make sure that you stay tuned with Nicardo Media House and the Morning Insider. I will preview it. Hopefully I can get a journalist to help me to cover this the little bit of the Central America. Hopefully it will be on, but if not, I will ride and whistle by myself and cover it and talk about and give my opinion. You don't know. Bless up on yourself. Thanks for watching. This is Nicardo Media House. I'm out.